Hey everyone, welcome back to Jewelcast. This is LOdeFI. Hope everyone is having a nice holiday break, getting some much time away, either spending time with family or relaxing at home. We've all had a nice time, and we thought it would be a great episode to just kind of get an update, see where HardAbs and Superior Forms heads are at, what their strategy is going into the new year, any recaps, and just kind of a little market update. So, yeah, how are you guys doing?
Pretty good. Pretty
Good,
good.
man.
Pretty
Good.
excited.
Hey, LodeFi, sounds like you have a brand new mic. Your voice is sounding a lot clearer. Did you get something from Santa?
Yeah, Santa has gifted me a mic. It was much needed from the first episode where I used my AirPods and I just did not like the sound at all. So we're slowly working our way up and just trying to up the production as best we can. So how was your guys' Christmas?
It was awesome. A lot of family came by. I talked about crypto whenever I could. Talked about DFK. Oh, I don't know if I told you guys, but I did get a few new suits from like a fancy little boutique, and they had like this. I had an opportunity to add like some embroidery right inside the pocket. And so I had 5 suits, brand new suits, and I basically did all my favorite crypto projects. So I
That's
basically
cool.
embroidered like DFK in there, and I did like Harmony in there, and the other ones I did like Luna and Solana and stuff like that. It's really funny, but
That's
only I
awesome.
only
That's
I got that humor.
cool.
That was for Christmas for myself.
That's cool. Yeah, my Christmas was a little bit typical this year. Obviously, with family, you always talk about crypto too, since now crypto's kind of one of the big things. But I obviously most of my family doesn't really know where I stand with crypto right now. They just think I'm collecting coins like everybody else. So I want to leave it that way for a little while longer,
Right.
and and maybe next year I'll come out with a bang.
That's awesome. Yeah, that'll be a nice surprise for everyone. And yeah, and I mean, this is gonna be 2022 is gonna be a big year, especially for DeFi Kingdoms. So I'm really excited heading in to seeing all the new changes and expansions and stuff to come. So I think everyone's kind of ready to, you know, this year it's over, kind of start fresh in a little ways, and I think everyone's really excited. Like in the whole community, there's tons of excitement, especially this past week. So
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
a good thing to bring up too is a good segue. I mean, you brought up the expansion. I think we can talk about that first. I think there was an update with a lot of things with the expansion, and I think I'll ask the questions right off the bat. I mean, there's multiple ways for you to earn crystal, from my understanding. So if you guys want to touch upon that first, I think that's a good. I guess yeah, you have that up right now. It's this introducing the Crystal Veil realm to the DFK and coming to AVAX. So there's obviously the single staking is
Right.
going to be a huge factor. Um, but yeah, I mean, there's going to be what 500 Gen Zeros. I'm not sure if there's a date to that, but well, yeah, they look really cool too.
Yeah, and I think my thought process is the devs may let us earn a little bit of crystal before they introduce those Gen Zeros. That's that's how I'm thinking about it. I'd imagine they'd want us to farm some crystal before they introduce it. So maybe they give us about a week and a half, give or take. And I think too from the update single staking, single-sided staking, but then also there's going to be some pools introduced a little bit afterwards. So, whether it's going to be Jewel AVAX pairs to farm more crystal, Jewel crystal pairs to farm more crystal, and kind of on and on with that. So, it's going to definitely be very, very interesting when it happens. I think a lot of folks right now, they're trying to figure out what the best way is to prepare for this. And I definitely think that that's a big challenge right now because With AVAX coming along, we also have kind of the whole land situation that's coming along too, where folks are going to have to work their heroes to acquire the right buy and sell land, which is something that's upcoming, probably even before the AVAX expansion. So I think that that's going to make it tricky for folks to decide which way to go and how to best spend their jewels. But all of this, I think, ultimately really helps Jewel be extremely bullish because people always have something to do with the jewel. And it's not just, hey, stake the jewel here or farm the jewel there. And so I think that that's something that people really, really need to think about because right now a lot of people are hoarding jewel for AVAX. But in doing that, they should factor in that once it's time to kind of go and chase land, everybody's going to have a chance for the right sell land. So you may not necessarily have the money to buy land once you've earned the right to kind of get it, but being able to chase it with your heroes and then sell the right for somebody else to buy it is going to be lucrative. This is something that Frisky wants folks to be able to do. So I think people should try and factor that a little bit in their equation. In addition to that, too, what I'll probably add with this whole crystal veil aspect is, just like HardAbs said, you've got 500 Gen Zeros. There's a very good chance that, those Gen Zeros are going to cost 3,000 jewels or more for folks to acquire them, right? And
That's the
then,
chance to acquire them too. There's going to
right.
be tens of thousands of people trying to get 500 Gen Zeros.
Yeah, I mean, with AVAX being at least 8 times the size of Harmony from a wallet's perspective, with 8 times the level of liquidity as well, it makes acquiring a Gen Zero a lot trickier. There's actually a strategy that I'm working on. I have like 2 strategies. Obviously, compared to most folks, I do have a lot more liquidity, but something that people should think about is if you don't have the liquidity to win an AVAX Gen Zero, what you should consider is trying to trade a Gen Zero that you have from Harmony right now later on for an AVAX Gen Zero, because that will be an ARB opportunity right there. So you get a Gen Zero right here that's underpriced right now while the market is still down. And then you let the AVAX Gen Zeros get released. And then, about 2 weeks, 3 weeks, once the hype, the novelty, and all that stuff cools down, you then will actually get an opportunity, I believe, to trade your Harmony Gen Zero for the AVAX Gen Zero. So, if you manage to get 2 Gen Zeros, I know it's a really hard thing to do. But if you manage to do that, that's another opportunity. I think other opportunities as well is if you manage to summon a mythic Gen Zero, a mythic Gen 1 or a Gen 2 here, doing some trades, keeping an eye on the market, flipping those heroes back, and then again getting some of that money to get an AVAX Gen Zero down the road, right? Because I think with Jewel going to $15 this week, we saw Gen Zeros go down to 4,000 jewels. And I know a lot of people are gonna say, "Hey, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money." It is a lot of money, right? But if you think about it in terms of Jewel, a lot of people that didn't have a chance to get Gen Zeros when they were at 6,000 jewels, 7,000 jewels, they could have saved up, right? Either from going into the LP and staying in the LP for those high APRs for a while. I think that this week showed a huge opportunity for a lot of people to actually get a chance to buy Gen Zero here. And then again, as I said, potentially even flip it and trade it for an AVAX Gen Zero once that market calms down.
Yeah. So yeah, just to add to that. I mean, 3800 is the current Gen Zero for joules. 3800 joules is basically the floor right now for a Gen Zero. But yeah, I mean, I did see that it was down to like 3400 at one point, but I think they were quickly scooped up. I mean, rightfully so. I mean, these are Gen Zeros
Right,
we're talking about here.
right.
But what you're saying is that we should. I mean, if the folks are on the sidelines waiting to buy Gen Zero, now is a good time potentially, right? And then
It
you're saying,
is.
yeah,
It is. I think there's some other things too that I think from my personal opinion that I'll mention here as well. And some of the data shows that too if we go into the hero bot as well. If we can take a look at the hero bot, I think there's this misconception from folks that, oh, Gen 1s are always growing in number, and because of that, they're always going to be devalued, and the prices are slowly going down towards zero in a sense for the Gen 1s. And there is a little bit of truth to that, but again, because of the design of this, right, where you have mythics, you have legendaries, and you have rares, um, there's just too much value in those mythics, rares, and legendaries to actually really kill off that Gen 1 market. And because of that Gen 1 market being as lucrative as it is, truth be told, the Gen 0 values, honestly, it's always going to be a slow, steady incline, right? That's what will always be the case for those Gen Zeros. I know that, yes, we can infinitely mint Gen 1s, but because of how the Gen 1s are designed, it's always going to allow Gen Zeros to slowly and steadily increase in jewel value, not in just USD value, but in jewel value. I think, right now there's some panic in the market. Taverns have been busted. Jewel price going to $15. A lot of people have been collecting profits, rightfully so, as they should, right? Um, and we've seen a lot of people sell off their Gen Zeros to take profit, whether it's to prepare for AVAX or to stake at the bank because they want to earn some amulets, or to take advantage of the juicy APRs that are still left in the LP, right? But going back to it, Gen 1s are always going to be very lucrative because of how they're designed. But then in addition to that too, I think leveling is slowly going to catch up with folks. And I don't know if, LOdeFi, you want to talk a little bit about that, or HardAbs, you want to talk a little bit about that as well. But I do believe that leveling at some point is going to catch up.
Yeah. The way I'm looking at the markets is to tie this into the whole expansion aspect is Jules' price is going up primarily in anticipation of the expansion, right? So the difference between when DFK started and now with this new farm launching is when DFK started, everyone thought it was potentially sketchy and the APRs were crazy high and there wasn't that much money in there. Now you've got, exponentially higher amounts of users, volume. I mean, you're talking orders of magnitude more. I mean, total value lock's gone to 800 million, 700 million. And now you're going to a top 10 chain, with orders of magnitude more money than Harmony. So Jewel price is being front run in anticipation of that. Everyone wants in on the new farm so they can get as much crystal as possible, and they're really trying to take advantage of that. I mean, that's just like one of the whole metas of DeFi is you get into a farm early in the first few days and you reap the benefits of getting extremely high emissions and then the price appreciation. And that's primarily what's on everyone's mind, which can be short-sighted because there's ways to take advantage of that in the other aspects, which you guys are saying in terms of the Gen Zero market, or even now PvE, PvP is slowly coming more into focus, and we're seeing how the developers, a lot of their focus is on that for the hero utility, right? Like profession quests aren't the end all or anything really for this, for the NFTs and for the heroes. I was gonna find. And I mean, now you're seeing that with the summoning rates going way down, primarily due to the higher costs in Jewel, right? I mean, even people that have gotten in, the last month or month and a half, emissions are so much lower in terms of getting enough Jewel to fuel a lot of these costs, where people that have summoned the most are a lot of the early adopters that have had the ability, or people with Gen Zeros that have like a much steadier income of Jewel on the regular basis. And so you're seeing that huge discrepancy between USD price and then prices of summoning costs that were fixed when the price was $1. So I'm seeing, you're starting to see it display with the amount of heroes being, coming into the market. So people are worried about maybe their Gen Zeros if, right, there's less heroes coming in.
Right.
Because I'm also seeing, and my plan is, because, like, personally, I don't own any Gen Zeros at the moment. So the way I'm looking at it is, yes, I might see people still dumping their Gen Zeros for the next month or two in anticipation, because you can get several thousand Jewel to stay crystal. Everyone's looking at that. Everyone wants as much Jewel as possible.
Right.
But if you're contrarian or want to play that route, it might be a good idea to just start trying to look into swoop into Gen Zero, because I mean, it's really going to be hard to tell what is going to be better in the long term. Like, both of them are probably going to be profitable, but
So what do you guys make of the heroes summoned by date chart? From the dfkwiki.com/heroes. Right there, yeah, this one, perfect. This is really telling. Like, how do you break this down when you kind of look at this chart? Like, obviously we had the highest amount of heroes being summoned on November the 7th, right? But since then it's obviously been going down, and obviously you're not going to chart this like how we do a TA, but what do you guys make of this? Will we see summoning go back up? Are we going to see this kind of new norm where we're going to see just 300 to 500 being summoned on a daily basis? Like, how do you guys look at this, and how do you guys anticipate what's going to happen in the next month or two?
I think this week's a little bit of an anomaly because it was a holiday week, combined with there being API issues with the tavern. Quests were going live in beta, so with that, it's caused issues for people to have more incentive to summon, or less people are at their computers as much. So and then you add in the price increase. I mean, this was an insane run, and I think a lot of this was, again, it just, and this is great. This was talked about in the AMA too. It's, if big money wants to get in, what Dreamer says is they just show them the marketplace and be like, okay, you want to invest a bunch of money, go to the trader and buy Jewel. And I posted a tweet yesterday that was saying, because I've been seeing a lot of discussion about this in the chats too, where I was like, I think the idea of Jewel mooning or heading to $50, like, if the price is going to continually increase as rapidly as it is, I mean, you've had summoning take place, end of October. I mean, end of October, the price was $3, $3, $4, give or take. And it was in this kind of range. It really wasn't moving much.
Yeah, it looks like a
Much
nice
lower.
like double bottom right
So
there,
you're
which is
talking,
textbook.
a few $100s to summon, where, beginning of November until now, it's 3 times as much almost USD wise to summon. And I mean, and there's still more summoning that was going on than it was in these days, right? We've got a huge influx of people at this point.
Yeah,
So
and with the whole inflow of the tiers basically coming into the market, everyone was summoning back then too.
right. And
Right.
so it it's just weird because crypto does move super fast and this game has Jewel has appreciated in value so much. And this is beginning of November. In August and September, you're talking Jewel sub $1, Jewel around $1 around the Gen Zero mint.
Right.
So, this price appreciation has been a lot to where people that have been buying in at $8 and above, you're talking $60 for a summon, you know, putting one summon at like a large percentage of the amount you invested. For those people, it's easier for them to look at stuff in a USD sense because they're not playing with as much house money from reaping in a lot of emissions
Right.
or having Gen Zeros or having a bunch of heroes to flip. So,
Well, so here's this is just looking at the market from a TA's perspective as well, and this is going to the price of Jewel. I mean, as you were talking, we've been seeing a big inflow of like big purchases, right? I did just see a $50,000 purchase of Jewel, $10,000. I saw another $10,000. It's the money's coming in, $15,000, 9,000, 9,000, 12,000. People are buying this right now. So from a TA's perspective, we're seeing I see a congestion area where it could be pretty choppy, where it potentially could be the support zone from $12.43 per joule up until the I think 12, like let's say $13, and it just bounced off the $13 range. And so kind of like that range right there, I'm not sure if I see anything lower than 12.40 in terms of Jewel. I mean, it could go down, but that's literally a really
there,
low risk area for buying in and scooping Jewel. But I'm seeing big purchases right now,
right.
which is really nice at this area.
And again, so why is this money coming in? Primarily, a lot of people are taking advantage of the pools, right? It makes sense. A lot of people want in on these APRs, which are still, they're going down, but people want to get these APRs, especially when you're seeing that farm token appreciate like this and the demand that Jewel has. And then it's that, and then it's I think front running AVAX crystal token. Like everyone's gonna want in on that. People that have been waiting to get in on DeFi Kingdoms are going to just probably buy Jewel. Some people might wait until there's an announcement, but if you wait for an announcement to stack up on Jewel, you're too late, right?
Right. Right.
So this is what's happening right now. And you're seeing that by the markets. A lot of people don't want to summon right now because they don't want to risk their Jewel because there's less of a positive EV on selling heroes at the moment. So you're taking a much higher risk. But the way I look at it and the way I've been approaching it is there's also higher rewards there too in the long run. But that's just a personal strategy. For most people, you have to really find that balance because if if you sell out of all your heroes and stuff, then you're probably gonna have to buy heroes at a premium down the line because they're gonna be leveled up. And then if you don't buy a leveled up hero, you're just gonna be at a loss because your other heroes are gonna be,
You're gonna be playing
outperforming.
catch up, yeah.
So I think it's still good to find a balance. Like there's good deals on the tavern, you can try to take advantage of it. It's good to always be in the LP. And then it's also good to have Jewel and then have a strategy. And it's hard for people to figure out right now because prices appreciated so fast. So people that even bought in a couple weeks ago are up 100%, give or take. So it's weird. The whole ecosystem of Jewel is kind of like in a price discovery right now too, and you're trying to find that balance. And I think it was addressed very well by what Dreamer said. I retweeted this too. Everyone's happy when the price goes up, and then you see the summoning cost, and you're like, "That's expensive." Then the markets, they're gonna have to naturally balance each other out. So That's the way I'm looking at it. There's implementations that they're looking at. They're aware that it costs a lot to, summon a hero, but there's less heroes coming into the market that makes other heroes a lot more valuable, and the heroes should retain a good sense of their value if there's less coming into the markets now.
Yeah, and I think there's another thing too that we can probably bring up, and I'm not sure if you guys have seen this during the holidays, but there was either Tango brought this up or Frisky brought this up, but I did read a small excerpt in somewhere in the Discord saying that in terms of heroes being summoned and how there's a big influx of them and how the floor is dropping and the price of jewels pumping. I think the idea too is that someone mentioned one of the devs mentioned that heroes will die off, right? And they will. I don't know. Did you guys read about that?
About the burning
Yeah,
mechanism with heroes?
so it's with Frisky mentioning that players will have the choice to take heroes on risky missions where it's like high risk, high reward. And this obviously won't apply to Gen Zeros, but to other gens it will. But yeah, I mean, I think this was an idea that the devs had been playing around with, and that I think they're still playing around with, because people really, really want heroes to be very deflationary assets. And I think that what people are still not wrapping around their brains, even though I think this whole killing off heroes and breaking them into smaller pieces that we can use later is a great thing, high risk, high reward. But going back to it, the design of floor heroes, the way they're designed, they will be extremely lucrative, right? The only reason why floor heroes aren't lucrative right now is because we can't use the items that we're earning, right? For anything yet. We could just kind of go into the marketplace and sell them to Jewel because there's liquidity provided there, right? But that liquidity is essentially going down to zero at the moment, right? But I think it is good for this being able to kill off heroes and earn rewards from them for the distant future. I don't really think it's great right now, mostly because, like, when you think about it, the heroes have a level cap of 100, right? So when your floor hero finally hits level 100, and you've kind of seen what kind of the maximum amount of items it can earn per quest is, then it gets a lot easier for you to weigh, hey, should I go on a super high risk and risk killing off this hero, or can I keep it at level 100 and just keep earning quest items from it, right? So what I've seen from the community is a lot of people, because they hate the fact that they're seeing their heroes lose value, they want to be able to kill them off right now, and that's just kind of really short-sighted. Um, because the heroes, they're going to return Roy at some point. I mean, they already are, right? But greater amount of Roy, right? Because you can't be spending $500-600 and only getting $2-3 here and there, right? Which I think is what the community is wrestling with. So I don't know if that helps with what you were asking, HardAbs.
No, it does. It definitely does. I mean, that's obviously farther down the line, but having that idea being brought up to everyone that there's a burning mechanism for heroes is nice, because then that's something that we can maybe expect down the line when we own like a few heroes or a handful of them. So thanks for explaining that.
Yeah, I mean, my only problem with the whole burn thing is, I mean, burns are good, but I don't like them if people don't really think about it in the grand scheme of things, because to me a burn is an attempt to artificially create value where there
Value.
is no value. You know what I mean? And so that's why, like, because here's the other concept too, right? Is new users are going to keep coming in. So you need the floor heroes, you know what I mean? Like, you need them, right? Like, when we don't want floor heroes, it's because we're being overly greedy, right? But we need new people coming into the system to be able to play games and to be able to get some cheap heroes. So because somebody can't wait 3 or 4 days to sell their floor hero and they're like, oh, the value's dropping, the value's dropping. If DeFi Kingdoms is doing their job, there's always going to be a demand for a floor hero, which is what I feel like people are a little bit short-sighted on, right? But I think again, with the way Frisky and the team is seeing things, the burn down the road is great because if it caps out at level 100, and yes, you can still use the hero to get items, you're still always wondering in your head, hey, what's beyond that, right? What can I get more? What's more exciting? So from that perspective, I do like the burn. If we were just doing burns because the floor hero prices are dropping and they're just going too low, we need to get rid of them. Like, to me, that's just a little bit silly. But
Yeah,
go
yeah.
ahead.
When you would like take a hero onto it, you wouldn't basically like on a dangerous quest, right? You wouldn't take your best hero to do that. You probably test the waters and say, hey, let me see what the lowest one, the floor hero that basically is in my roster, and say, hey, let me just put this guy, or female, whatever, just into the quest and see what happens, right? And let's
Right.
say the gen 4 common goes in there and dies off, right? Okay, well, then you would have to repurchase another hero because I wouldn't personally. For me, I mean, it would make sense for me not to send my best hero just because in the event where what if my best hero dies off in that
Right.
quest? I'm screwed. But then, I think also Frisky did address something with like a Phoenix down, which I'm not sure if you guys, I mean, you obviously know because you you have Cloud Strife as your avatar, but yeah, for Final Fantasy VII, Phoenix downs are you revive essentially your character back to life. So I think that was mentioned as well. But yeah,
Yeah, I'm pretty excited, honestly, about all the different areas that they're going to explore with that because I mean, if they're gonna do things like Phoenix Downs, they could even do like buffs for like going on specific quests, like potions that only last for like 3 or 4 quests and then they stop working. I mean, the possibilities are endless. Um, there was 1.2 I did want to add onto what LodeFi had asked, and I think this was related to your question too, HardAbs, where you had asked, could we see another explosion of summoning once kind of, AVAX gets launched? I think to piggyback off of LodeFi's idea, I think if there's enough crystal that gets farmed across the board where people feel like they're playing with house money. And I do think we can get another huge summoning explosion because playing with house money is always low risk, right? And that's kind of what really helped during the Wishing Well days, right? As soon as the Wishing Well came out, we had an explosion of summoning, right? Because again, the jewel price was low. And as LodeFi had said, by that point, a lot of people had farmed so much jewel and it was house money. I think with Crystal, we could see this same phenomenon again if there's enough crystal that gets farmed. If the emissions are high enough for a couple of days, and if people can take advantage of that, I think it could be a huge opportunity there. We definitely could. Maybe not as high as, Wishing Well days, but definitely a new peak compared to kind of what we've been seeing right now.
Yeah, it's interesting. I look at the markets like if you're bullish on Jewel, then you got to be bullish on the heroes as well. Like there's people that, they're here and they strictly just farm and they have nothing to do with this, but the way I look at it is heroes can and they can still be lucrative in a way of accumulating Jewel. So I like these heroes have to work for Jewel to work because a lot of the
Right.
demand has come from Jewel costs needed to summon more heroes and, you know, the risks and rewards of getting a higher value hero. So if people are going to stop summoning, well, we've got over 80,000 heroes right now. So summoning's going to go down. Then that means there's not going to be any more, you know, as many advanced or elite classes or mythics or legendaries. So you would assume that the super rare, there might be a gap between the floor might go down, but then the really rare ones are going to become more, you know, their value is going to increase because they're going to be the ones that are sought after by the people that have the money to buy these heroes and advance themselves further in the game as just farmy missions are going down, right? This is going to become a much more hero-centered market
Right.
as Jewel, you know, develops and the game develops. And the idea with the expansion is, yeah, you're going to be able to bridge your heroes over there, and there's going to be ARB opportunities where if it's cheaper to summon on Crystal Vale, you can go there and summon. Or, well, if everyone just goes to Crystal, then Jewel prices could come down. Okay, then you can bridge your hero back over here and summon. So you don't have to summon right now, right? I mean, you don't. And again, summoning is supposed to become a luxury. That's to preserve the 81,000 heroes that we have. You know, we only have 12,000 holders of heroes right now. And you have way more people in the game than 12,000 people farming. So it's just, there's a imbalance we're just trying to figure out right now.
Right.
And there is opportunities in heroes as well, because what I'm saying is if you're bullish on the game, then you have to be bullish on heroes. So there's ways to make money in the heroes where, you know, that's how I'm looking at it. I'm less concerned about, you know, it's just like playing markets or trading like a Bitcoin Ethereum pair. Well, if Jewel's going way up, I take profits by buying heroes.
Right.
So I've been taking profits into heroes and then either summoning or waiting to see if Jewel price comes back down, and then I might have a chance to sell an underpriced hero for more Jewel down the line. And
Right.
that's how I accumulate Jewel, right? So,
Right.
and I feel people that have been in the game or been in the ecosystem longer, the longer you're in that, I feel like the easier you are to at least understand that or just make that a play. So, because a lot of the early adopters that have the most to gain from the price increase, but also have a lot to lose by hero value going down, you know, are people that have been in this ecosystem longer. And a lot of people that want the price to sustain and stay high also own a lot of heroes. And like the team does too, like these heroes and the utility behind them has to match the hype. And you know, once the because it's like once the APRs wear off, like what else do you gotta make
Right.
sure you can keep people here.
Right. Right. And I think too.
And they know that too, and I think it's just short-sighted from just the price. It's easy to get euphoric when Jewel is just appreciating in price. So
Right. And you know, I think I was discussing this with a couple of community members as well, is when you look at the jewel price right now, right? Even at like $10 or $15, right? You do a 2-3x, you know, fine, you doubled, tripled your USD value, right? But the hero market, along with the game aspect, that player play to earn aspect, that's where a lot of the value creation, the money making is going to emerge from. You know, I mean, that coin, the jewel coin, is going to slowly keep increasing in price. But, you know, you're not going to make like those crazy, crazy bajillion gains, right?
yeah,
There, right? The next avenue, the next frontier here is the heroes. And I think that's what, you know, folks are kind of waiting to see if that's true, right? Which is why right now everybody's taking refuge in Jewel versus going into Heroes. But I mean, I think a lot of this is going to open up, especially when you look at the whole leveling system with the stamina potions that are coming up, and the gated quests, right? That are going to come into fruition very soon, right? Once I need a hero to be at level 10 in order to get into a quest, or I need a hero to be at level 5 in order to be, in order to get into a quest, and that quest is giving me a lot more jewel in return. Value of the hero is just going to shoot up, whether it's a floor hero, whatever, whether it's a hero with no summons or 10 summons, right?
Right. And there's a type of person in this game that I think understands that. Like, and that's what I'm doing too, is you buy some heroes that you think you can level up, because there's some people that'll rather just pay for a leveled up hero than do all the grunt work itself. Like, you're putting in a
Right.
lot of time, and like people that have their heroes past level 3, and then, you know, and I think that's what's starting to heat up now, is, now it's like a mad dash. Like, if you feel like you're underexposed to heroes, it might be a good time, but it just depends on where, you know how much time and money you want to invest in this game. But there's money to be made in getting those heroes leveled up and grinding the XP and providing value that way too, because you can earn money through the questing as you get to level 10, level 15 heroes, and then also the hero's value increasing, down the line, if you sell it to someone that wants those hero returns but doesn't want to put in the time and
Right.
effort, because it is a grind. Like,
It is.
if you play this hero market like I have and do, where you're buying heroes, you're listing some, like you buy some to sell and flip. I summon a lot and I sell the offspring of the flips, because I'm using the hero, Mr. Zipper's hero bots, to do matches and trying to find desirable heroes that people might want in a few months from now for PvP, PvE, where I'll buy them, level them up, and then I could either sell them, and you know, and that's a way for me to take profits too. So I can be less concerned about the price movement now, or feel like I'm, well balanced within the game, because I mean, heroes can go for crazy values where, if Jewel can double, but you can, you know, it's higher risk, high reward, so you got to balance your. I mean, these are Gen Zeros, so, and Mythics, so this is an anomaly. These are just the top 10 hero sales, but I mean, you get a Dragoon, you get a Sage, you get a nice PvP hero, you get lucky and, get a Mythic or a Legendary. Like, those can provide a lot of value down the line, and
Right.
so I think there's a lot of interesting angles to take here too, because there's ways where this could be as lucrative as the AVAX expansion. If everyone's running into the AVAX expansion,
Right.
the more people that are staking, the less rewards you're individually going to get. I mean, I still think that's good, and I'm going to be partaking in that too, but that doesn't want me to sell heroes at a loss or for cheaper just because the price is going up here. So it's a time horizon thing, because we've seen for the last few months, it's like the heroes have to work. The devs are going to reward people that level up their heroes and interact in the game. So if I know that, then I'm going to want good exposure to that side of this game too, because when the gardens dry out, or if price goes down, there's still ways to get an edge and just keep accumulating and progressing in the game.
So still talking about how leveling up your heroes. Obviously, gardening came out last week. We, did some gardening with our heroes. I'm sure I haven't gotten an egg for any of my professions. I haven't been that lucky, maybe like you guys have, but but I'm still searching, right? But I was just asking, what are the initial, since we have a whole week of data, basically almost a whole week of gardening. What are your initial impressions of it? I personally like it because I honestly have, a day job and all that stuff, and but yeah, I was just gonna say that every 5 6 hours or so, I let my, I do, I let my heroes go out into the garden one by one and just like kind of set it and forget it, and then check back again in like 5 hours or 6 hours. And it's nice to see that I get back Jewel in my particular farms that I'm involved in. But yeah, I mean, if you don't even have any farms, you can actually, there's a bunch of gardens, all right? You can set your heroes to go out to several different ones, and you can get back nice little items. Still, obviously, we have yet to see them, the use for these items just yet, but we do see that alchemist update in the beta website, so it's really really cool and interesting because there's a lot of opportunities. That's my initial take on gardening after a whole week of it. What have you guys, what are your thoughts?
I think
Superior.
that, sure. I think that gardening is going to be huge, because so right now, the jewel that you earn, it's, obviously people weren't too excited about it, so Frisky kind of bumped it up a little bit, and folks are a little happier now. But just imagine, right? This is just the start, right? These are level 1 quests in the garden. What happens and how are things going to look like at level 10 quests and level 20 quests, right? And I think that's where the crazy excitement is going to start to show. I think folks should really be questing right now and pushing hard, because once those level 10 quests come out, those level 15 quests come out, it's honestly going to get insane, because the garden rewards right now are really, really good, considering, hey, your hero's only at level 1 and your gardening skills, I haven't checked, but fine, you have like level 3 gardening skills right now. So just imagine what things are going to look like once it's like, hey, you can't get into this quest unless you have like 15 gardening skill and like you're at like level 6 or something like that. So I really think that the hero market is going to turn overnight the minute that stuff comes out. And I think that's why too, going back with what LOdeFI said, that people need to start to think about balancing a little bit more, right? Like sometimes being a little too heavy in the bank is not the best play. Sometimes being a little too heavy in the LP is not the best play, because all it takes is one announcement to be like, hey guys, level 5 quests are out. One person discovers, holy cow, I just got 7 jewels from this. You just turn into like mass mania at that point, right? So I'm really excited, because that's kind of where we're headed with the gardening quests. I also love the queuing system. I mean, I know you're checking like every 4 or 5 hours. Like me, because obviously, yeah, I have a lot of heroes. I actually check like every 24 hours. So I queue about like 10, 15 heroes in there. And then when I'm like, oh, maybe I should check the garden, and then I just go and I hit collect like 4 or 5 times from like the same 3 pools that I've been in. So I think it's very, very convenient. And obviously, if you don't have any jewel in the LP at all, you can still benefit from the gardens, which I think is great, because I do think at some point those items are really going to pay off. And, it is a game of balance, and it is a game of patience. You can't go too hard heavy into any of it, but ignoring it all together is not a good idea, because you're going to fall behind, right? It's almost kind of like summoning right now too. So summoning right now, just flat out summoning, is very lucrative when the heroes are at level 1. But once you start having gated quests, this whole summoning dynamic where somebody has 2 Gen 0s and they make a Gen 1 and they can sell the profit, part of that dynamic is going to change for sure. Like the money making aspect. It's going to get a little harder, and you're going to have to do a little bit more homework.
Yeah, the way I look at all of this is people that I see that are solely in the gardens. You see Jewel go up, they they're upset that they don't reap all of the benefits of just like the single token price appreciation. So you get like the impermanent loss, which really I don't worry too much about. Um, it's only when you have like the farm token tanking, and that's a big thing too. Is we have all this jewel coming into circulation constantly, and the price is going up. So it's it's a really weird dynamic that you don't usually see with farm tokens. Jewel's not just a farm token, but they don't just do this. Like if you look at every token that's been on like DeFi platforms, like they don't do this and they haven't, especially since September. So and then people that are just in the bank miss out because they're not getting extra jewel rewards, or people that don't have heroes or are overexposed to heroes, they see jewel go up and then they see maybe the jewel price go down, but they want to capture it on the USD. So I feel like just psychologically, if you're getting in this ecosystem and you want to benefit the most, I think it's best to, even if you have like a hero or two, like, and I think that's why gardening's helped, because it's bridged people in the gardens to buying heroes. So, and you can use a lot of gardeners and you want them on a full 24-hour rotation. So, and the rewards are nice. And even when I'm heard Sandwich Punch talk about, you have this jewel coming into circulation, and you're not seeing the price go down, right? Like there's more jewel coming out of a quest fund into circulation, and the price is still going up. You probably won't. I don't know and then mining's about to come out. Are you going to see sell pressure, and then that leads into, okay, what about when all the locked jewel comes into circulation? So it seems like there's not going to be the biggest difference in jewel coming back into circulation around the time of July that it is right now. So, and the only thing that's going to be holding up jewel will be the demand for the heroes in the PvP. So, yeah, like getting invested in heroes now and leveling them up too is a good hedge in certain ways too if you're bullish long term. So,
Yeah.
that's where I stand on seeing people that are like, oh, I'm all in on heroes and now I'm lost money. And then there's people in the gardens that are like, oh, jewel just went up a bunch, but my token that I'm paired it with isn't up, And then the gardening quest, I think, kind of is going to help find the balance between, and then now mining, they're going to help better find that balance, I think, of jewel price ecosystem, velocity of jewel, the in-game markets and ecosystem, because the utility is about to be put into place a little bit more with the alchemist and the miners and gardeners. So
Yeah, I'm particularly really excited about the mining aspect. I think we all are, especially for those who have been here early. I have not been here early. I think I was like 2 weeks late, but honestly, that it's huge. I don't know about you guys, but like I've been searching, just Google and saying, hey, I just put Axie Infinity and DeFi Kingdoms, and all I'm seeing is why I sold my Axies for DeFi Kingdoms.
Yes.
Why Axie Infinity will be flipped by DFK. And it's like really interesting because I'm seeing more and more articles that are just being written about this. Recently it's just insane because we can see it in the numbers, like you have this up right here, the DApp radar, and you can basically see that the DFK, volume is, if you go to games right there, yeah, it's we have, let's see the volumes really quick. Yeah, I mean 29 million in the last 24 hours compared to Axie Infinity 22 million.
that's with the tavern bug too.
Yeah, that's with the bug.
Yeah.
So like, it could be a little bit more there. So I don't know. It's just insane. We talked about this last time too, last week, where the balance was literally at the balance, the TVL was at, not TVL. The balance is at 3.78 billion right now. And we talked about last week, and it was sitting at like 2.5 billion. This was just last week. So
yeah, we're seeing lots of money, and it's hard for me to really understand. Where's the ceiling on like these tokens or like on DeFi Kingdoms or Jewel, because people that are coming in now benefit more from the price going 10x again, right?
Yeah.
But that's a lot. Now you're getting into like what's the current market cap?
And we had
You know,
900 million, right? We're at
and it's like you
900
have to
million.
take all of this with a grain of salt because in one of these, if it loads, one of these indicators doesn't mean everything. Like how there's a lot of value locked in, what's sustainable. So that's where I'm looking at is like what's a sustainable to where the project isn't, you know, it's fun to play. You can get enough people into the ecosystem to play, and there's ways to benefit from price appreciation, but also interacting with the game. Because in July, like, yeah, you're gonna have more Jewel coming into circulation, but there's a lot of people that have a lot of locked Jewel, and this is where you have the debate with the centralized exchanges too, where people don't want Jewel potentially listed or have the ability to short Jewel because the best thing DeFi Kingdoms has going for it is when it launched here with really low liquidity, it wasn't venture capitalists, it wasn't like hedge funds or these big groups that have usually been getting in early to these DeFi protocols that blow up, right? This is all I'm sure there's others that have launched as equally and fairly where a lot of people that have the most to gain from the price appreciation luckily is normal people and not just venture capitalists or people that their end game is to invest and make crazy profits, which they can do doing stuff like this. So if it gets listed on a centralized exchange when the Jewel gets unlocked in July and people that are sitting on a lot of money, or like VCs would get in and they could just potentially hedge with shorts, and that could drastically affect the Jewel price, whereas people that are coming in more now are more akin to needing price appreciation, to benefit without the crazy APRs, or interacting in the market. So there's going to be forced ways for people to have to find a balance in DeFi Kingdoms. So
And
that's how I'm looking at everything
and
at
I
the moment.
think for me, like, and obviously this is like my own personal opinion on that aspect with what you've discussed is what I'm looking for the DFK team to do is kind of provide the same level of utility into the project that they've provided in the past, where you get an influx of coins, right? But then all those coins need to get absorbed into some kind of utility to kind of
Right.
keep things in balance, right? Because we've got the mining that's going to start off, that's going to bring in some more additional coins. It's really not going to be enough to have a major impact. But then in July, right, the major unlocking will begin, right? I'm looking at the devs to have some kind of functionality and utility that can pretty much gouge and absorb all of those coins that are going to be kind of coming out into circulation.
Yeah.
And I think I have enough faith in the team to be able to do that. And I also think too that that's probably where they're gonna get the PVE aspect and get really timely with some of the features that they can
Exactly.
release, right? Because it has to be done in a timely fashion to absorb all of that sell pressure that could potentially be coming our way, right?
Yeah.
But I do have full faith in them being able to achieve that. But yeah, I definitely agree with you too there. Because even with the crystal token, honestly, one of the big things that will help the crystal token is the fact that you're going to have new Gen Zeros, right? Because
Yeah.
you need to be able to absorb all those new coins coming into circulation. Um, and it has to be lucrative enough for people to not want to dump the asset afterwards for coins, right? So this is a very, very big aspect of it, which, you know, I'll be looking really forward to. I'm also curious about the eggs too, how the eggs are gonna play their part in March, because I had spoken to Frisky very, very, very earlier on, when DeFi Kingdoms first came out, about the eggs, and he had mentioned to me how rare they were. And I don't know if I had this conversation with you, LodeFi, but I did have it with another community member called Jackson, where Frisky had done a secret airdrop earlier on, and then we come to find out that if you had 50,000 eggs Jewel in the bank, you qualified for an egg.
Yeah.
So the question was, are we talking about the same egg now as we're talking about the eggs then?
Right.
And so, you know, like, so with all these various new pieces of utility that kind of get introduced later on, you know, will they be kind of the price sinks, right? Will they absorb all of the jewel and the influx of jewel that's going to be coming in? Because the burning mechanism is already built into the protocol with the summoning, but obviously it is kind of small and it had to be done in such a way to keep things balanced out. Um, but yeah, you know, like, I think new features and new utilities that can encourage um,
And we could be on
absorbing coins. Yes, go ahead.
we could be on another chain by then too. So like from the beginning, the whole idea of the locking mechanism was basically allowing them to, like, we're we're finishing up on the phase of getting enough jewel into circulation and getting heroes into circulation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like we've had 80 plus thousand heroes in the last couple months. You know, the jewel in circulation is between locked and jewel in circulation, so just total out of the 500 million, we're already well over 50% now. So, and this was, you know, again, thankfully before the real big money, you know, like VCs or chains where there's tons more money and users have gotten in. So it's just hard to grasp where, you know, I think the devs and the way they've had this set up was this was always the idea that when the unlocking happens, when's the full utility of the heroes, and then I mean we don't even bring up land because we don't
Right,
even know much about it, but that's a lot of jewel. I
right,
mean, there's a lot of jewel that's going to be needed for land, and again they're expanding this map here too, plus the other realms. So it's always I'm not as concerned, but for me, it's just hard to gauge, you know, because summoning costs, I think that's going to be off the table. Like, you're not going to change the summoning costs. So there's
right,
going to have to be other ways, which they've discussed, like other renting, other ways to hire heroes and rent them to people for quests. And then, you know, when quests are more lucrative, that would probably be more lucrative. So
yeah,
it's if you're bullish on this, you have to just kind of that's where you can put some conviction in
right,
is so
right,
yeah
right,
it's
Yeah, and the one
right.
thing I
again
want,
this
yeah,
is
the
a
one thing
huge
I
work in
wanted
progress.
to, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I was gonna just, I guess bring up the two new backgrounds for these heroes, right? That's something I think Flu added to his. Yeah, I think you have it right there. He added to his Twitter. So I guess there's two different types of backgrounds now, which this looks pretty insane, and then that one as
Like a
well.
portal. Yeah,
Yeah, it kind of looks like a portal for sure. But yeah, I mean, you it doesn't look that nice, but like it's definitely different. But I feel like this could be
i
one
think
of
i
those things where
saw I think I saw this portal background on a Dread Knight.
did you?
um
So that could potentially be like a new thing where maybe this is a portal to AVAX. I think that's something pretty cool, right?
yeah, there's a lot, you know, that's locked in, and like these heroes, there's so much, to be discovered. Like we've never seen a level 10 hero. We haven't seen, what the new genes are going to be or what else you can do because you're going to be able to bridge these NFTs. So,
Not to mention too, just the elements, right?
yeah,
Each
see this
hero
background?
having their own
Is
elements.
that the portal?
Yeah, maybe that is the portal, huh?
So cool.
But yeah, like one of the other things too on the uniqueness of the heroes too is again like the elements along with the backgrounds. It's really an untapped area right now, an untapped area of value for the heroes, which may get introduced at some point next year, maybe Q1, maybe Q2, as the war on land is going to become a thing. So yeah, there is definitely a lot of untapped potential with the heroes still, um, with just obviously some of the things that we've looked at here. So it's yeah, I feel like there's so much to build conviction off of right now. Like even discovering something like this just shows the level of detail that these devs are putting into this and how well thought out, you know, everything is here. And again, further down the road with the whole unlocking of the coins, I really feel like they have an amazing plan for all of this.
Yeah, no doubt. So it the, the roadmap is, far from over. So I'm just looking at it that way is I'm just trying to expand my time horizon now to where I can kind of, you know, just I'm trying to just play the long game now.
Right.
So I'm just
Th-
kind of
th-
like establishing positions and then just waiting.
There was another point too that kind of from the whole time horizon aspect that I wanted to point out. Low DeFi, I actually in the general text channel, I posted a statement that Frisky said. It was in regards to combat professions and kind of the stats on the back of the cards in our Jewelcast channel, I believe I posted it. And this is kind of something I wanted to bring to people's attention as well. Yeah, I don't know if you can zoom in on that a little bit. But yeah, like essentially Frisky said profession stats won't have much impact on combat.
Yeah.
And essentially, just for clarification for folks, is when you're looking at the back of a hero card, it's true that right now, when you go on a profession quest, you're taking a third of the stats, along with two-thirds of the profession gene to kind of get your rewards, right? But in the future, once we start to expand more um, on this world where we go into PE and then even further PvP, right? Um, the utility of these heroes is going to be magnified because when you look at the hero now, you won't even be looking at the profession skill level anymore, right? The profession skill level will still have utility on these profession quests, but let's say you go dungeon raiding or you're going hunting and killing, um, you're strictly actually going to want the hero for the stats and the growth capability of the stats on the card. So that's another avenue that people can use to plan when they're buying their heroes, right? Because there are some heroes that are really, really good in the tavern, and they're just being sold dirt cheap just because the stats and the professions don't line up to the point where it's crazy good to go on a profession quest, right? But, you know, this is an ARB opportunity for folks to really think about and look at. Because what you could do is instead of getting a thief that also has the profession of a fisher, you could just get like a cheaper pirate that's a fisher, right? But then you can get a thief that's a gardener, right? And guess what? You probably spent half the price on that for two cards. Um, so that's one way of looking at it, right? So folks, as they start to kind of put in some more time to invest in for the long term and even the short term, there's many different ways to skin the cat here.
Perfectly said. Low DeFi. One more thing, and I think that we can probably end it off here. Is
Yep.
that I sent you a link in our chat, and if you can just pull that up really quick, just to speculate for everyone here. Um, it's in our regular chat. Yep, right there. If you can just click on that, Crypto Crier. I found this article that was written 4 days ago. I found it really interesting. If you scroll all the way down, where you can see where he started to show the price of, Jewel at current price, and then Axie right there, perfect. Basically, at current market cap of Axie, if Jewel comes back up to, in the long grand scheme of things, because what he says, the paragraph right above it, he goes, with better mechanics and a strong team delivering very engaging content rapidly, only time will tell, but the growth of just a matter of time from what I've seen. So if we take over Axie, then we're looking at Jewel price to be over $100. Like, grand scheme of things, great. Let's take it. Let's shoot for it. This is literally, obviously take this with a grain of salt, but like this is going to take a little bit. I'm seeing that this is probably going to take a year or two, maybe depending on how successful everything is. I guess final thoughts on this, because this is really interesting. I haven't done this little technique here to kind of compare both market caps, but what do you guys think?
Yeah, what do you think,
Superior.
Lo?
It's hard for me because I try to like keep things in my own because I've been involved with DeFi Kingdoms for months, so I've already benefited a lot, and I try to like temper my expectations too. So because people that have been around, like you see that's like life-changing money, right? So it's great to think about because yeah, you see the potential that DeFi Kingdoms has, and you look at, okay, well, this AXS game, Axie, that a lot of people maybe have left, or it seems fine. I've never played it, so I can't really. It's hard for me to kind of compare, other than I've just seen the price go nuts. So, but DeFi Kingdoms is different in the way that it has the cross-chain aspect coming to it, and I think the pixel art, and it's just like niche, and everything it's combining is working really well, and there's a lot of hype. So I can see, when you're talking premier crypto games, I mean, DeFi Kingdoms is already getting thrown in there, and the game's not even fleshed out yet. So I see a lot more potential and growth down the line. So I'm happy at any price. So like it's hard for me to really, because I look at it more now as it's just I can gain more USD value probably better by just trying to get as much Jewel as possible. So that means compounding in the farms, and that's what I've been my main focus for a while. And then it's you do the crystal expansion, but you also like play the hero market. So for me, I try to look at it more of I just want to get as much Jewel as possible because I think Jewel will be valuable down the line. I think the price will be higher, but it's hard for me to put a number on it. Like 117, yeah, that's going to take a lot of work. I mean, and a lot more money. And I think that's where the expansion comes in. So, I'm bullish long term, obviously. So,
Yeah, I think I'm the maniac probably in the group, right? Because I do see $100 Jewel long term. I mean, I've tried to level my expectations. I've tried, but the stats are just too cool. The heroes are just too cool, and the structure of the token is just too well fleshed out. For me, knowing how crypto is, crap that I've seen that's exploded, it's really, really, really hard for me to actually not see Jewel at $100. I mean, yes, it's gonna make a lot of us more money in our most wildest dreams, but the structure is just too well set up for that, right? Because we've got AVAX, then we've got Terra, Phantom, Polygon, and at the end of 2023, who knows? I'm not even saying 2022. I'm even saying 2023. Other EVM chains in the pipeline, just because of the way this team is structured.
But what I want to say in regards to you speaking about this and other people that you see that are like big names talking about DeFi kingdoms is they also own a lot of heroes too. So they're putting their money where their mouth is. They're not like you have people that could probably be pumping DeFi kingdoms, but they're just chilling in the gardens or like, you know, and like even Taiki's like becomes more bullish on DeFi kingdoms and like he's getting into the heroes and it's like I feel like you see that if you're really bullish DeFi kingdoms long term, like I feel because like Superior, you own a lot of heroes and you have a lot of value in heroes.
Yeah,
And
and right,
and that
and it,
speaks to like you're putting your money where your mouth is when you talk about this.
yeah, I mean, like, I'm gonna shout out to Velvy. Normally, I don't like to blast somebody out, but Velvy's extremely bullish. He's got 500 plus heroes. Um, the game's just too cool. I know that there's a lot of
Right.
money right now, and there's a lot of stuff that's not really fleshed out. But part of the reason why like we feel like this growth is possible is because, man, just give me a chance to swing that sword with those stats.
Right.
Like a lot of us are just dying for that, considering RPGs that we've played. There's just so much value there, from guys that have played World of Warcraft, StarCraft, Majesty, and just a whole bunch of these other MMOs and RTS games. This is like the ultimate dream to be able to combine that with making some money here.
Yeah.
It's really unfathomable, like really, really unfathomable. And shout out to the devs like Hubert, who are just absolute, absolute maniacs to really pushing at this stuff. It's really, really exciting. So it's like, a lot of people say like we're not just in it for the money, we're in it for the tech. Like I remember when I was breeding Dark Knights, quote, summoning Dark Knights. I mean, every time I summon a Dark Knight, I just imagine Final Fantasy Tactics, Dark Knight going into combat. And some of us, there's that nostalgia aspect and just playing the game. We really, really want to play the game. And I think that's what's making this token extremely bullish.
Right. I mean, it's the conviction I've got just from talking with you, Superior, because again, it's you're buying heroes, you're engaging, and you're trying to educate people too, and that's like the other people we've interviewed on this podcast too. It's the same thing. They're trying to like teach people and show the value and show what there is to come and the offer here seems if they can execute and you see from the the detail and passion they're trying to put in and they're really trying to keep rolling great things out and listen to the community and expand and grow like they're growing their team they're really trying to grow and provide a great product and that adds just on to the conviction of the people that want to be in here and I think you're just starting to see that snowball
Yeah,
at the
and
moment.
it's really happening beyond people's wildest dreams too, because I'll share this as well. So, there's a guy from Riot Games, that me and I, him and I, we've already been chatting. He's in the esports department, and he got pulled into DeFi Kingdoms, and he loves the stats. He loves the potential of the heroes. The gaming aspect for DeFi Kingdoms is really, really a lot bigger than people expect. And so, him and I, we've just been casually talking. But I mean, DeFi Kingdoms is really, really getting the attention of folks from the game industry. Sure, like haven't jumped in head first like a lot of apers in crypto have, But they're dabbling and they're very, very interested because of the depth that exists in the game itself. And I really feel like at the root of it all, like that's what's really, really driving this. It's that game element. I mean, it's true, it's very heavily monetized, but I can't discredit those stats and how they were structured and the vision behind building on top of them. That and just to be super bullish too, again with Velvy's trying to flip and level up 200 plus heroes. I mean, that's just insane.
Yeah.
Like me right now, I have my strategy. My strategy is actually to try and level up 100 heroes. So, so
That's
I've
yeah,
got
that's quite a task.
I've got like 200. Like I forgot about like 250 because I summon and I make sure that like I don't go over 300 because then it just becomes unsurmountable. But the truth of the matter is, it's like you theoretically want to see how each class is going to be at level 40, 50. You know what I mean? Like if I have like two heroes and I level them to level 25 or 30, I'm just not satisfied.
Yeah.
I want a powered up wizard and I want a paladin, right? But then I also want like a brute force hero too. I want a dark knight that all it has is like pure strength. And I'm gonna take that pure strength to like try and crush a dread knight, Like I feel like the spirit of that is little by little gonna get bigger and bigger and bigger in this game. It's just the game is not fleshed out enough so people can't see. But I think when people decide to see, it's going to be too late, right? They should be picking up cheaper heroes. Obviously, not financial advice, but you should be
Of course.
looking into the heroes. Yes, you're going to have a balanced approach where you have LP and you have bank, but you got to be looking at the heroes right now.
Yeah, that's a great way to wrap it all up, and I think express, the forward-looking aspect of this game because there's a lot of, perfection that's getting priced in and high
Right.
expectations. Like people have high expectations now, so I mean, and they are up to the challenge and they've proved that they can deliver. So yeah, I'm excited to see
Yeah, I'm
what
super excited.
2022 brings here. So
Yeah, I'm super excited. And again, too, like what makes it bullish too is the fact that there's just something for everybody here, right? Like the expansion in itself, even before we start thinking about PvE and all that stuff, is gonna bring tons of excitement. Um, I personally think there's going to be two expansions in 2022. AVAX is going to be the first one, and then at some point in 2022, another expansion will be in play. So there's just so much momentum, right? And so you're going to have the expansion, and then the team's divided to also be finalizing the quests, getting land out. Then you've got buildings, then you've got equipment, and then you have a few other things in the pipeline. It's really, really, really hard to just not be very, very bullish with this, considering how well the team has already been doing. Um, and again, the token structure is just insane, because they got it to work so well. And the excitement's not going to stop next year. And that's why, again, too, that $100 I feel like it's a certainty, honestly, especially with the way crypto is. I mean, there's so many coins that are just absolute trash that have been sustainable. Like there
yeah,
really are. And so it's like to have a dev team deliver for a full year. I really think that that's going to establish DeFi kingdoms in the crypto industry. There's just no words for it. And it's more than enough reason for me to be all in. And again, like guys like Velvy to be all in. I mean, Velvy should be cashing out. You know, like a whole bunch of them should be. Dirty Dan. Like I can list all of those guys, but we see the game element. We see how the team is consistently delivering. And there's something crazy, crazy fun to be had at the end of 2022. I mean, where will DeFi Kingdoms be feature-wise at the end of 2022? It's going to be insane.
Yeah. It's great. HardAbs, any final words?
No, I just think that, you know, I'm kind of looking back with Taiki's conversation that we've had. He's a farmer at heart, and you know he goes to these, you know, these random protocols, and sometimes he would analyze it and say, hey, my one of my main rules is to never marry a farm, and he's in and he's out within a few weeks, months, whatever it is. And so for this, it's a different ball game. You have heroes, you have stats, you have utility driven NFTs. This is NFTs 2.0. Like
I
you have
agree.
it's insane. The possibilities are endless right here. This is not where a lot of whales come in and they dump the next week. This doesn't happen here. But obviously, you know, this is not financial advice, and obviously do your own research. But you know, we have a lot of conviction here, and this is why we are here for you guys to kind of recap and to talk about this on a weekly basis. And we're excited to be here on this journey with you guys. And you know, that's it for my final my final thoughts for
Yeah,
this.
and again too, just again one more final thought. It's just like, okay, guys from Riot Games. I don't mean guys. I actually mean employees of Riot Games are talking to me about DeFi Kingdoms. It's like, how flippin' bullish is that?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, um, just from a game element. So it's like, and maybe too at some point I can actually invite them onto the pod as well. But it's just they're looking at DeFi Kingdoms from the game aspect and kind of just from the ground up growth that it's having and how they're building the game incrementally. And just like, wow, you know, if these guys are looking at this from the outside, I mean, what about the rest of the game industry, right? um, the more noise DeFi Kingdoms is going to make next year, the more the game industry is going to start to look to see what's happening here. So, you know, like part of what makes me bullish again is just like when folks from the outside look at the game, they're seeing a real game here and it's being fleshed out, and there are just no words. There really are no words, unlike any other project in crypto right now. So can't say enough about this project.
Yeah, man. I'm excited. Couple days left in the year, and 2022 is going to be a really good one. Lots of growth, lots to come. I'm super excited to see where DeFi Kingdoms is at, and even just a short 4 months already. I mean, it's already matching, you know, Axie's volume over 30 days. So it's cool.
Cool.
Hell yeah. All right. We'll end it there. I think we went for a while, and it was just kind of nice to just talk and rant and just kind of
Yeah.
see where our heads are at. So yeah, we got some interviews and streams and stuff we're trying to get together. So we're always ready to talk DFK. So I'm sure we'll be
Cool.
back at it again soon.
Cool.
All right. See ya.